Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going into my top 5 defenses to stream for week number 4 of the 2022 fantasy football season. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. I would also like to ask that if you guys have any questions about week number 4, or maybe you have any questions tonight about Monday Night Football, please ask them down below in the comment section. I love interacting and talking with you guys down there. So without further ado, let's get on into my week number 4 defenses to stream. We begin with my number 1 defense to stream for week number 4, the Green Bay Packers going up against the New England Patriots at home in Green Bay. Currently, the Packers defense is owned in 67% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. If you play on ESPN, CBS, Sleeper, any of those other fantasy football platforms, then the ownership percentage for all of these defenses is going to be different. In some cases, a defense might be owned in 50% of leagues on Yahoo and only owned in 5% of leagues on NFL Fantasy. So the ownership percentages could be drastically different. Mac Jones is believed to have a high ankle sprain that could land him on the IR. Now, Bill Belichick was asked this morning on Monday if Mac Jones will be put on the IR, but we all know that Bill Belichick isn't going to actually answer that fucking question. He just did the Matrix moves and he's dodging around the question, and he's like, oh, maybe he'll be on the IR. So when you might go on the IR, obviously, Mac Jones is not going to be playing on Sunday up against the Packers. Thus, we are going to get the Brian Hoyer experience. I don't think Brian Hoyer is necessarily some fucking garbage can quarterback, but at the end of the day, he's not very good, so the Packers defense should have zero struggle in potentially getting a couple of interceptions off of Brian Hoyer. Plus, Brian Hoyer is a statue in the pocket, so the defense will be able to sack him in this game. Packers defense up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and old man Tom Brady in Tampa Bay on Sunday. They had 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 12 points allowed. The Ravens going up against the Patriots in New England on Sunday. 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and 26 points allowed. I really do believe that this Patriots offense is going to take a drastic leap in the wrong direction without Mr. Mac Jones. Now, I have been someone who has been very critical of Mac Jones, but going from Mac Jones to Brian Hoyer is a huge leap down. So at the end of the day, I really do believe the Green Bay Packers should unanimously be the number 1 defense to stream for week number 4. Next up, we move to the New York Football Giants going up against the Chicago Bears at home in MetLife. Currently, the Giants defense is owned in 10% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. Now, the Giants have yet to play the Dallas Cowboys tonight on Monday Night Football. If you're watching this on Tuesday, obviously they already played, so we're going to have to go ahead and look towards week number 2 to see how the defense performed. The Giants defense in week number 2 up against the Carolina Panthers had 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 16 points allowed. Now, I know the Carolina Panthers aren't necessarily the top tier offense in the NFL. I understand that they won yesterday up against the Saints, but not really because they have some crazy elite offense. The Bears, though, don't have an elite offense either. They refuse to throw the fucking football. And when they do, when they actually are forced back against the wall to throw the football, Justin Fields doesn't look good. And honestly, I don't know if Justin Fields is just this bust, this colossal bust, or maybe the thing is he can't get into a rhythm because he's just handing the fucking ball off all game long. The Texans defense up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago on Sunday for week number 3. 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 23 points allowed. And we all know the Texans also don't have the greatest defense on the face of the earth. So I really do think that the New York Football Giants defense will be very solid this week up against the Chicago Bears. They're my number 2 defense to stream on the week. Moving to defense number 3, we got the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Currently, the Cardinals defense is owned in 2% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. Now, the Cardinals defense went up against the LA Rams in week number 3. And obviously, up against the Rams, it's hard to have a great day defensively, right? 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, 20 points allowed. The Carolina Panthers offensively just doesn't really do anything for me. I know they have DJ Moore. I know they have Christian McCaffrey. And I know Baker Mayfield looks good at times. But at the end of the day, they seem to be scoring all these fluky, crazy long touchdowns, right? Like a 70-yard fucking touchdown. We saw it with Laviska Shenault on Sunday. And I know the Arizona Cardinals defense is not as good as last year, but they got J.J. Watt back. And again, I really just don't like this Panthers offense. And when you're streaming defenses, you're not necessarily streaming the defense because you think they're this world-beating crazy defense, right? I don't think the Arizona Cardinals are that. But I do think that they will be able to get it done up against the Panthers for your fantasy team. The Saints defense up against the Carolina Panthers in week 3, 3 sacks and 16 points allowed. Baker Mayfield is also prone to making awful fucking decisions, and when he should just throw the ball away or check the ball down, he'll go do something crazy and he'll throw an interception, or he'll just get absolutely leveled by the defense. So I really do expect the Arizona Cardinals to be pretty solid this week. The defenses to stream this week aren't the best, but honestly, I feel a little bit more comfortable with these defenses compared to the defenses that we talked about last week. Shout out to the LA Chargers, who absolutely sucked ass. That defense looks atrocious. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the game wasn't even fucking close. The fourth defense to be streaming this week in week number 4 is the Miami Dolphins going up against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Currently, the Dolphins defense is owned in 15% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. Now, the Dolphins defense went up against the Buffalo Bills in week number 3, and everyone counted the Dolphins out. Now, I'm a Dolphins fan. They said, oh, Josh Allen is going to tear the Miami Dolphins a new asshole. The Dolphins defense is not going to stand a single chance. They got Gabe Davis back. They have Stephon Diggs. They have Isaiah McKenzie. They have Jamison Crowder, who tried to make a catch, and obviously that didn't work. They have Dawson Knox. Devin Singletary is the owner of the Dolphins because Devin Singletary always plays good against the Dolphins, which he did on Sunday. But the Dolphins defense still sacked Josh Allen 4 times, 1 fumble recovery, and 17 points allowed. And the Cincinnati Bengals offense, really, the offensive line is a big disaster. The offensive line just splits like how Moses split the Red Sea. The Jets defense, that isn't the best. 2 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 27 points allowed. I know 27 points allowed is a lot, but the Dolphins just held the best fucking offense in the National Football League, according to most people, to 17 points. And the Bills held on to the ball offensively for a majority of the game. So the Dolphins defense was tired in the sweltering heat in Miami, and yet they still only allowed 17 points. The Miami Dolphins defense up against the Bengals, I understand they're not this super top tier defense that I need to be starting this week. But if they are available up against Joe Shiesty, I understand this is one of those games where this is a huge letdown spot for the Dolphins. They beat the Patriots. They somehow beat the Ravens. They miraculously beat the Buffalo Bills, and now they have a short turnaround up against the Bengals, so maybe they let down. But honestly, I feel comfortable with the Dolphins defense. They seem to have really stepped up. I know they got absolutely butt-fucked by the Ravens, but they locked in the second half. I think the Dolphins defense will be pretty solid up against the Bengals. Plus, the Dolphins defense dropped roughly a zillion interceptions on Sunday. There was one at the end of the half where Josh Allen, messes up on the snap. At least I think, unless it was just designed to look like that so that the defense wasn't knowing what they're doing. They tried to do a fake spike and throw the ball, and maybe that would have worked in their head, but Xavier Howard literally could have picked that and went straight to the house. They dropped a bunch of interceptions. The Dolphins up against the Bengals, I think they are a solid defense to be streaming on the week. But before we move on into the final defense to be streaming for week number 4, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. They've been on your screen this whole entire time. Are your best ball teams already cooked? Well, head on over to Underdog Fantasy to resurrect them with their Week 6 through Week 17 best ball tournament. The entry fee is only $10 with $500,000 in total prizes and $100,000 going to first place. All you got to do is draft your team. That's it. There's no waivers. There's no trades. There's no in-season management. It's annoying to sit up all night on Tuesday, do a bunch of waivers. It's annoying when you go to call up one of your buddies and they can't answer the phone. They're too busy, so they can't make a trade with you. And then the most annoying thing is sitting there on Sunday before the games start, you're taking a nice dump and you're setting your lineup, and then you accidentally start the wrong guy. Well, you don't have to worry about in-season management or waivers or trades on Underdog Fantasy because they automatically give you the best score at the end of each week of the season. And you don't even have to really pay attention. I know you can watch every single week if you want, or you could just draft it, set it, forget it, and then come back at the end of the season and potentially have won $100,000. Underdog also features daily and best ball contests for the MLB, the NBA, the PGA, and the NHL, so you can get action all year long. It's not just a site that offers NFL stuff. All you gotta do is click on the link in the video description or use promo code Stokastic, STOKASTIC, to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 with Underdog. Make sure you guys do go ahead and check that out. If you deposit $100, you'll receive an additional $100, which is 10 free entries into that Best Ball Resurrection tournament. My favorite part about fantasy football is drafting, and normally you can't draft during the season, but now you can on Underdog Fantasy. The final defense to stream here. This is where we kind of get to the bottom of the barrel. We're trying to get a little bit spicy here. We're going to go with the Detroit Lions facing off against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. 1% owned for the Detroit Lions defense. The Lions defense up against the Minnesota Vikings. They did kind of choke at the end of the game. 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, and 28 points allowed. But the reason why you're streaming the Lions defense is because they are going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks offense is about as boring as it gets. The Seattle Seahawks offense moves the ball up the field as at the speed of 2 turtles having intercourse. It is extremely slow and it is hard to watch. The Falcons defense up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle in week 3, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and 23 points allowed. The Lions defense, I know, they have been letting up a decent amount of points, but they're also playing up against much better offenses, right? I know the Minnesota Vikings shit the bed drastically on Monday Night Football, but the Minnesota Vikings are a great offense, in my opinion, in the NFL. Maybe they're not a top 5 offense because Kirk Cousins can't get it done in prime time, but they are one of the better offenses in the NFL. And you compare that potentially elite offense in Minnesota with the Seattle Seahawks offense that isn't very good at all. Seems to me like a no-brainer that if you are just dying to pick up a new defense, that your defense that you have might have a tough opponent, that you can definitely go with the Detroit Lions. Again, not the most ideal, but there are far worse defenses to be starting than the Detroit Lions. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you do want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. If you have any questions for week number 4, or maybe you have to do something for week number 3 before tonight's game, please let me know down below in the comment section. I love talking to you guys down there. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.